At Roosevelt Hospital, baby boys are born every day. And with parents' approval, OBGYNs circumcise them at the hospital.
There's some evidence that it decreases the rate of HIV transmission, it decreases the rate of herpes transmission, and decreases the rate of HPV.
But times are changing, and more parents are choosing against the surgical procedure.
There's risk of bleeding, there's always risk of infection, there's a risk that the person that does the circumcision takes off too much foreskin.
Having peaked at 85% in the 60s and 70s, the U.S. newborn circumcision rate dropped to 65% in 1999 and to 56% in 2006. Dr. Michelle Francis says one of the reasons for the decline.
It's not a medically necessary procedure, so they say, well, if it's not necessary, then why do it?
Child and adolescent psychiatrist Dr. Jody Gold attributes the decrease to a new generation of parents.
Our generation of parents wants to feel like they're making an active decision. They want to weigh the pros and the cons, and they don't want to do something just because the medical establishment says to.
Dr. Gold is one of those parents. Even though she is Jewish, where ceremonial bris is part of the tradition, she did not make her decision to circumcise her two sons based on blind faith.
It was, again, one of the first decisions that I made for my children, so I wanted to feel informed. So I read about it. One of the pros for me was that I came from a religious tradition that chose to circumcise, but I don't think that was, for me, that wasn't the only reason.
The bottom line is society is more open about talking about a subject that may have been too private and embarrassing in the past. Actor Israel Campbell, a Catholic who converted to Judaism, has a one-man show off-Broadway called Circumcise Me.
Bob Halpern came at me with an X-Acto knife. For those of you keeping track in your programs, this was my third circumcision.
Even though he was circumcised at birth, he had to get 2 circumcisions to convert. And despite parents' concerns about inflicting pain on their newborn and possible psychological damage in the future, Israel could attest firsthand that is not the case.
I certainly have no memory of my first circumcision, and I probably have spent more time thinking about my circumcisions than the average person does, and no repressed memories have come back.
On the flip side, there may be concern about repercussions of not circumcising their sons, such as possible future ridicule in the locker room.
But if the trend is that less people are going to do it, I think that the ridicule about not being circumcised is probably going to shift. I think this is really a debate about parents wanting to be thoughtful about the decisions they make for their sons.